Hi, everyone. I'm Cassiah with Genetic Lifespan, and today I have a very special guest. Joining me is Dr. Rafael Gonzalez. Hi, Dr. Rafael. How are you?
Great. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for coming on today. We're really excited to chat with you. Before we get started, can you just share a little bit about your background with our audience?
Absolutely. So my name is Dr. Rafael Gonzalez. My PhD is from the University of California, Irvine. It's in biology with an emphasis on anatomy and neurobiology. And what I basically started doing a lot of work on is in cell therapies. As everybody knows, stem cells is a really big term. But I spent a lot of time focused on the immune system because every single disease has an immune component to it. And my clear focus is how do we revert or how do we make ourselves younger, which I've been fortunate to now be part of what's called the American Academy for Anti-Aging for over 12, 13 years, where I actually help significantly with their regenerative medicine platform that they actually have that we teach. And I'm one of those educators that teaches in that platform.
Wow, that's incredible. So you have an amazing background. We're honored to be here with you. Recently, you were introduced to the AgeCode test from Genetic Lifespan. So can you just share with us a little bit about your experience with AgeCode?
Yeah, I was really interested in this because everybody wants to know the whole sector of longevity. I mean, if you think of taking a step back, if you think of longevity, it's essentially every single disease that we have. Cancer is an age-associated disease. 99% of all of it is because there is a genetic component to it. Heart disease, neurodegenerative diseases, all of these are age-associated. We talk about aging. And one of the best things that you can actually do when you look at yourself in the context of aging is diagnostics. A lot of the sectors going into genetics, epigenetics of how do we look at this? How do we sort of prepare ourselves and think of yourself when I just turned 60. So if you think of yourself in the context of what's going on with you, how can I slow down that biological clock? Especially when we look at our immune system, because the majority of these tests are done on blood. We want to look at that because ultimately everything in the immune system leads to some form of catastrophic or eventual problem in it. So age code was of interest to me because one of my colleagues came up to me and said, "Hey, what's your interest in?" And I said, "100% on board." With understanding myself personally and others should be really interested in this, in how are you doing biologically? Because the number is just a number. When we talk about the number of you've gone, through the sun through 365 days in a year, that's just a number. The number 60 is just a number. But ultimately, I want to know biologically, if you look at everything, where am I at? Where are my organs at? Which are really important because everybody has different problems. Every single one of us is completely unique. So we all have different issues that we have to address and look at. And looking at each organ as a system is how a lot of times you can address this. And that's where my interest was peaked with Age Code.
That's awesome. So I agree with you. I think that's really interesting what you said just about the immune system and learning more about the inside of our bodies is so important because we do have the number, but we don't have the information. So this gives us a chance to actually look inside. Can you tell me your experience with the tests? So, like, what was it like when you opened the box, when you put it on your arm? What was that experience like for you?
Pretty straightforward and pretty neat. That's it's funny because I actually have the box right here.
Nice.
So it's pretty neat. It's that box right there that you actually get. It's relatively simple to do because all you're doing is opening it, you're following some simple instructions, and then you're actually gathering, some little blood from yourself. It's simple. Wipe, and then you ship it out. It's really, really simple. What I was more interested in, because I've seen these with other companies, was how is the reporting system? And it's one of the things that I was really worried about because sometimes the reporting systems on this, even being for as a scientist, I can understand them, I can read them, and I get them. But when you're trying to translate that to a lay individual or to a patient will look at this sometimes and it's completely overwhelming. And that's sort of what was the difference with Age Code, was the report that I got back.
Yeah, were you surprised? Like, what was there anything that shocked you when you got your reporting back?
Well, how simplified it was, which is really what we need nowadays, is how simplified it was. What are the suggestions, the simplified suggestions on them? It's nothing super complex. It's lifestyle changes, which ultimately all of us have full control over. You have full control over what you put in your mouth. And, when you talk about supplements, you talk about food. When you talk about, daily intake of what you need to take to make changes to change that code, that age, it's simplified changes that you can actually do, and it spells it out for you. And I really thought it was neat the way it was put into organ systems, and each organ had an age. And then you looked at, you're doing well, you're not doing well. And even if you're doing well, these are still a couple small steps that you can actually do to tweak it to make it even better. And then when you're not doing so well on a specific organ, how do you change that? How do you target it? And how do you do it simply? How do you do it? And it breaks it down. It's really, really simplified, versions. It's not selling you anything. It's not, it's just telling you this is what you need to, take in more of. For instance, if you're deficient in vitamin D, it'll tell you you need to increase your vitamin D content. This is the methods of doing it. You can do it by supplement, or you can try to spend some more time outside. And ultimately, those are all, little tips that you can do for immune health. This is just an example of such, but it really makes it easy.
That's awesome. Yeah, I found the same thing. I just got my test results back and I was surprised by some of them. I found out that I have a high amount of forever chemicals. The glyphosate was high in my blood. And so that was surprising to me. So there were things where I would never know that had I not taken the age code test. I felt like that was really valuable. And I do like the way that it gives you solutions. It's like, hey, you can take this vitamin. Here's a supplement you can take. Here's ways that you could change your diet. So all of the things that you're saying, I think, are what add so much value to the test. What I'm looking forward to is making those changes and then retesting. Do you think that at some point you would be open to retesting?
I'm 100. I actually just spoke to somebody about retesting because after I got those results, and those results for me, like I've done other tests before, and the results weren't, I didn't think they were accurate. I thought something was off there. I know myself relatively well, being in this sector for a long time. And when I got these results, I was like, these results are spot on. And I know sort of the changes that I need to make, but I wasn't forced sort of to make them because I wasn't expecting to get, I was expecting to get these results, but I wasn't expecting to see it in my face and then say, okay, these are suggestions and changes that I know I've known for a while I need to make, but now let's enforce them and let's make them. Including for me personally, I'm in the cell therapy sector, is including doing cell therapies for me. So I'm going to force myself to make those changes, which is what I talked about, and then test either 3 to 6 months later on, because that's enough time to make significant changes in your body.
That's awesome. Okay, I appreciate that so much. That's all great advice. So would you recommend the age code tests?
Oh, 100% I would. It's a simple test. It's going to give you a lot of information to make a significant amount of changes in your life.
Excellent. All right, Dr. Gonzalez, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks.